But we don't play. We're soft. So don't tell me you want to win. Like, just don't tell me you want to win. We're soft.
Yeah.
Aside from, to be fair to you, obviously they have a unique skill set, the way they shoot the ball. But we're soft. It's crazy, and it's every day. I'm tired of it. It's every day. I have the most energy of anybody at practice every day. I'm upset with everybody in that locker room, my assistant coaches and my players. I don't need to do anything else. I almost got 500 wins. I'm only 53. You think I'm coaching the Lakers? I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. But yet I come in and I have more passion and energy and pride than everybody in. That's the problem. It's really hard to coach people that are delusional. The hungry dog gets the bone. We got guys that think they're way better than they are. They're nice kids. They're completely delusional about who they are.
There's a lot to get through there. There's a lot to discuss there. I see your face, Kenny. Before I go to you, Randolph, the single most surprising thing there, I had no idea about this. Mick Cronin is only 53 years old. That's shot. I would have bet my entire life savings on him being 60 plus, man. There's no way that you can look at Mick Cronin and you can look at Randolph and you could basically say, there's not all that much different in age there.
Yeah, he got me by a year. You know what? I understand his frustration by calling them soft and everybody and saying some of the guys are delusional. Like, I get that. Like, you allowed Michigan to shoot like 60% from, 61% from the floor and 54 from three. Like, that's hard to do by yourself, to allow somebody to put up 94 points. Like, for a guy that in a team that's played from, that has a defensive mentality that has it. So I'm cool with that. The only thing I didn't like about his argument or his whatever tirade he went on was when he talked about his voice, him being the loudest one there. Well, more times than not, when you do that, you're the loudest voice all the time. It just means you're not delegating. When you talk about your staff and everyone else, that just means that you're doing it all the time, and you're not delegating stuff on those guys. So, other than that, I don't have a problem with anything he said. It's maybe a little bit. He kind of excluded himself a little bit. You obviously would have liked for him to say, "Man, I need to be better. I need to do better," than saying that. But if you're going to say your staff and kind of throw everybody out and kind of throw your hands back like this is beneath me, that's the way it came off, whether he meant it to sound like that or not. And if you got the loudest voice in the room, it's because you're not delegating and allowing guys to speak up, to do things on their own, to have a voice.
That was my big.
If you don't do that, then shit, you can't come out here and go through all this tyrant saying all that, because obviously that's on you, just like this loss is on you.
Yep, that was my biggest issue with it. Look, he's called out players before. It's worked in the past. Sometimes it hasn't worked. But to say, look, I'm 53 years old. I got 500 wins. I can't do anything wrong. It's all my staff. It's all my players. They keep fucking up. It's not my fault. Like, come on. What, Kenny, what are we doing here, man?
I actually laughed, man. When I saw it, I laughed, man. I was laughing. I thought it was hilarious when I saw it, but I'm like, come on, man. Come on, Mick.
Yeah, it's going to be like one of those "I'm a man, I'm 40" clips. You remember that? I was like a college football coach or something. I can't remember, but
Mike Gundy, baby.
Oklahoma State. Listen, there's no love lost between me and Mick Cronin. I think he would say the same thing. We do not like each other.
That's not your guy? You mean to tell me that's not your guy?
We never have ever. Is that whole everything that went down at the Xavier UC game, like all the talk he had after the game, it was whatever. I mean, but for me, somebody that is confident in themselves that they have almost 500 wins doesn't look at the camera and say, what else do I have to do? I got almost 500 wins. Like, you're trying to prove something to somebody. It's probably yourself. It's I think that there's a fine line here, because I don't 100% disagree with what he's saying, because I think that even before all the money and everything was involved in college athletics, there was a lot of people that had bad mentors or bad people in their corner that are telling them, like, hey, you got to transfer, you got to get more shots up, you got to do this. And now with the money involved, those circles kind of get a little bit bigger, and you got more voices in your head. And these guys are making money now, so they probably do think that better than they are. But I think that that's the kind of stuff. If you want to call somebody out and try and motivate them, that's one thing. But to just look at all of them and say, like, hey, you guys are all trash. What am I even doing here? Like, do that behind closed doors. Do that with your assistant coaches. Try and figure it out in that way. But to come out here and just blame everything on your players and your assistant coaches and say, no, everything I do is right. I got 500 wins. Like that part of it, he lost me on.
Yeah, I'll say this, right? Mick Cronin's a guy that's built his reputation on being a tough defensive coach, a physical defensive coach. They're going to beat you up. They're going to force turnovers. They're going to win the war on the glass. That's just what they're going to do, right? They gave up 94 points in their own building to a Michigan team that is good, but it's still, we're not talking about like Auburn. We're not talking about them like we're not talking about like we're talking about Illinois. Like, it's not Duke coming into that building. It's not UConn from last year. It's a good Michigan team, and you gave up 94, and you kind of rolled over and died at the end. And
he had
so
every right to call him out. He had every right to call him out. Every right to call him out. Because it was, man. 61% from the floor and 54 from three, and giving up 94 points is hard to freaking do. It's hard to do. So I don't have a problem with that. I just think when you step aside and kind of remove yourself from it, like you had nothing to do with that. And like I said, and then like I mentioned about the assistants and stuff like that. If they don't speak up, then because you're not delegating, you're not giving them stuff and allowing them to speak up. So they're just coming in there every day and they're waiting on you to give them a piece of paper, telling them what to do and how to do it, and then they're just doing it. And if you're going to make that comment, because that's if you're not doing it, then you wouldn't have made that comment, because that's the only thing I had a problem with. But giving up 94 points. What do you expect? He should have called him out.
They gave up 94
Kenny.
points and only had 6 turnovers. UCLA only had 6 turnovers. You know how dominant you have to be in the half court to only give up 6 turnovers and 94 points? That's insane.
Look at your splits, 60 and 50. I mean, come on, man. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
Hey, Randolph, you've been in recruiting circles. You've been recruited. You've played at that level. Is this something that you think will impact him? Like, is this going to be sent around to AAU coaches, or is recruiting just at this point, like, whoever's got the bag, you're chasing the bag, and the relationship part doesn't even matter? Like, does this have any long-term?
He's done this before, right? He's done this before, and his team is even better. His team is better than it was when he did it the last time. So I don't think any of this affect. Man, listen, one, he's a hell of a coach. Let's just call it what it is. The dude can flat out coach. He can coach. I don't think there's any question, any doubt about that. I don't like the comments that he made necessarily about his staff. I'm cool with him calling out his team, because that is soft. But I would like to see him take more ownership of himself and not exclude himself. But shit, I mean, it's who he is and how he is. It's some of the stuff. It's like Hurley. When you win enough, and part of it is you win enough and you're tired of some of this shit, you just say whatever you want. Like, he's probably tired of this. He can't. There's no way you can tell me Mick Cronin, the way he coaches, as tough as he is and what he's about, wants to put up with this NIL and all of the BS that's coming along with it and dealing with stuff like that. I know he don't. He's doing it because he still loves to coach or whatever, but he ain't enjoying dealing with this BS. I know he's still going to do his job, and he's a hell of a coach in doing it. And I expect him to continue. I expect UCLA
He went
to
to
finish
Hollywood. What do you expect, man? He went to LA. Get him back to the Midwest. Let's get him back.
He was in Cincinnati, dude. Ain't nobody's turning down that check to go to LA and living in damn Cincinnati.